Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Waters Above. Happy solstice. I'm wishing you all an amazing day. And we have some really important information to get into in today's video regarding this recent pullback that we've been prepared for in this crypto market. But before I get into that, just a quick update. This Sunday, I have a very special Red Pill podcast coming out dedicated to covering all of the projects that I'm personally invested in. I'll be going over around 20 different altcoin charts, up to 25 charts, and reviewing my entire portfolio and investment thesis for this bull run, sharing a thorough analysis to prepare you for what I see happening over the next couple months and what to expect for this crypto market coming soon in this What I'm Invested In special, available for Patreon supporters of our mastermind community at patreon.com/watersabove. And that new podcast will be released this Sunday. So by joining today, in the meantime, you can watch the recent Red Pill podcast I just released this past weekend and have access to over 300 behind the scenes updates, and join our Discord server for our community group chat so you could come hang out with like-minded investors and surround yourself with specialists from all walks of life, everything from decoders to professional traders, real estate agents. It's an incredibly diverse community, which brings even more value to the Patreon supporters. And I'm really looking forward to this new podcast, especially with the way the altcoin market has been trading lately. We expected this, so there's so many opportunities in this space right now, and I can't wait to dive into these charts and review my investment thesis for the remainder of this year. Now let's get into today's video. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow our community. And with that being said, let's take the clear pill. So in my last video that I released, I put emphasis on June 18th and June 19th as important dates for the crypto market, and mentioning June 19th specifically for Bitcoin. And my TA pointed to a healthy pullback target of around 64,000. And here we are on June 18th. Bitcoin perfectly tested 64K to the downside. And on June 19th, so far, it's been our microcycle daily close lows. This was important because I discovered this date by using something that already happened to Bitcoin over the past couple months and several decodes that we've done throughout the past 3 to 4 months regarding the number 49. So we've been utilizing this number 49 quite a bit lately. The mythological archetype Satoshi Nakamoto has turned 49 years old this year on April 5th. The Super Bowl this year was with the 49ers against the Chiefs, and this was a rematch that they had from 2020 where it was the same outcome. The 49ers lost this year, just like they did back in 2020 against the Chiefs, right before the C19 crash bottomed on March 13th. And this year, we have March 13th was Bitcoin's all-time high daily close, as above, so below. So it's just a complete opposite of what we had at that time, and it's all kind of a big ritual on the world stage involving sports. And anyone who's a sports decoder, I'm sure you're keeping up with what's going on with perhaps the NHL and NBA finals, and you can take some of the notes that we've been sharing throughout this year from the YouTube channel on these videos completely for free, and you could be applying it to those sports that you're interested in. It's an incredibly holistic system. And for those that want to learn more about decoding specifically, I have this decoding mastermind course available on my website, watersabove.com. And this course actually covers everything, pretty much my entire decoding system, and it includes this new crypto decoding blueprint inside of it for free, making this one of the most valuable projects I have. It's incredibly packed with gnosis, and this crypto decoding blueprint is actually now officially complete just as of 2 days ago. I have added a couple new videos to it, and this new crypto symbolism video that I added at the end is wild. It's about 25 minutes long, covering 16 different cryptocurrencies, all of the symbolism inside of it, and revealing it all to you in a way where you can now go and decode any of the cryptos that you're interested in. But anyways, let's get back to today's video. We had this number 49. We had the Super Bowl outcome the same. We had the 49th birthday of Satoshi this year. And then we had 49 days after March 13th, ended up being May 1st, which, as you can see, taking from the highest daily close that we had, May 1st ended up being the lowest daily close we had. Again, as above, so below. Now, what we did is we took from May 1st, kind of like the center point of time, similar to a ripple effect. If May 1st was where the drop of water hit, we have the linear time going backwards and forwards, and this 49 days later bringing you to June 19th. This was where this date came from. And then I gave a warning for the prior day, specifically with the 68 and 23 date numerology, the 68 being the war code. And I was talking about this in my last Red Pill podcast I just released over the weekend, to expect Russia coming back into the conversation. And that's been the talk of the town for the past 48 hours. Everything going on with BRICS. And anyways, we're not trying to get political here on this channel. That's not what the point is. We're not in fear at all to any of this stuff. We're just decoders. We're staying neutral in the process. So this is the system that we've been using. The last time we called out the 68 date numerology, we specifically mentioned Iran. And then that was the day that Iran's president, well, you saw what happened. So let's just keep this stuff in mind. Again, we're not here to predict. I don't want to get into that. It's just about having awareness and knowledge of the code. You do it with it what you would like. So the idea here was to anticipate the market going down, crypto market, for the 18th and 19th as we get closer to this month's full moon, which is just in a couple days on June 22nd. So we have this full moon right around the corner, June 21st into June 22nd, starting tomorrow, this energy pivoting into the weekend. And this was something I was bringing up for a long time now, how we need to pay attention to the June full moon specifically because we've made it through eclipse season. And what we tend to see is after eclipse season, which was the March lunar eclipse and the April total solar eclipse, we have a pair of following lunar cycles, and then those are a little bit weird. After that, we equilibrate and we start to see the moon cycle indicator behaving a lot more accurately. So we saw that after the solar eclipse, we did correct off of the new moon into the following full moon. We even went a little bit deeper after that. But you can clearly see that this full moon and this new moon were a very disorganized, chaotic energy. Then we rose into the following full moon. Again, we had our pair of full moons following eclipse season. Very strange. But then look at this. Look at how when we got to the last new moon on June, it was the perfect top. And now here we are correcting into the perfect, well, what I believe will be a bottoming structure coming very soon. It's not about getting the exact low. It's about the awareness of the energy and the pivot, and then how you can take advantage of it. That's what matters most in this market. So many people get caught up on trying to catch the exact bottom or sell the exact top, and that's not really an investment thesis. That's kind of where things get off the rails, because a lot of the time when people have no investment thesis, but they're just trying to catch the top and bottom, we tend to see those people not take action on the days those markets do those things. So if I had to tell you how to like partition your energy you spend into getting into this crypto game, I would put like 70% into your investment thesis, and then the TA is the other 30%. This way that when the market comes to you, you will actually have a plan and you will take action according to your trading plan. Trade your plan. Stop trading your emotions. So this is really crucial stuff, guys, and this is what we're working at on this channel. It's not about being perfect. It's about execution. And those that execute have a lot more progress in this world than those that are trying to be perfect that never take action. Remember that. So we had this 49 days after May 1st. Things are looking pretty good. That is so far our low in the recent horizontal trading range, even going lower than where we were in the middle of May. So we brought up a couple things in the last video about we could, of course, go lower next week into June 27th. And this was important because we have a full moon window of time of +5 or -5 days. We even saw in this iteration here, we slid down a little bit deeper. That happens sometimes. But now that we're out of eclipse season, finally, and we don't have any like Mercury retrograde or anything like that's too weird right now for the Bitcoin chart, we should just be bottoming over the next 4 to 5 days and then continuing into July, August, and so on. And we're going to break that down right now for the rest of today's video. So even though I mentioned June 27th as 5 days after this full moon, this decode that I shared in my last video here was specifically clear and very important for June 18th and June 19th. And now you can see how important this was for the altcoins, because a lot of altcoins took a big hit over the past couple days. I mean, even VeChain was sliding really hard into this 18th date. Theta, another one. Dogecoin, another one, perfectly trading to the downside at some of these critical support lines I have. Cardano, another one. Matic, I would assume. Yep. And I bet if you just go through the whole list of projects, even Proppy, which is a project that's been doing really, really well lately off of this recent January into April pivot to the upside, we've seen it give back quite a bit leading into June 18th. We will be covering all of these charts, by the way, in my upcoming Red Pill podcast. Like I said, we're going to be covering about 20 to 25 different charts. So you're not going to want to miss that one if you're interested in the TA on these alts. But getting back to this, this is important that we saw Bitcoin do what it just did into the specific date. It's showing the energy of this market, and we want to kind of understand what's to come over the next couple of days. And then the big reminder that the stock market was closed yesterday for a holiday. So because we're moving into the full moon tomorrow and we have the stock market opening up later today after yesterday's holiday, it could definitely bring some more volatility compared to yesterday when the crypto market was trading alone. And you can check in on yesterday's volume versus the volume of June 18th, and you would see how low it was yesterday compared to the day prior. One big signal now that I'm looking at, so this way you can say, like, Waters left me off with this video with stuff that I can use, stuff that after I'm done watching his video, I can go check this out on my own charts and see what he's talking about. You could even do it as I'm going through this video. Pause right here and kind of take some notes, start taking notes and being actionable right now with the time you spend in these charts. Right now is the most important time. So one big signal that I'm looking for in the short term to expect more downside is this cross that we're watching right here. We're having this on the Bitcoin daily chart, and it's what I call a wolf cross. So it is the 8 simple moving average and the 55 simple moving average. This is big. The last time that we had this 8 cross below the 55, it was right around the April solar eclipse, and it was right here. And you see that we did go a little bit lower after the cross. Pretty substantial drop. But what's super important about this is you look at the quick buyback or bull trap, micro bull trap into the 55 simple with this resistance followed by a deeper correction. The time that we had this happen before that moment was right here in January. This was after the Bitcoin ETF approvals, and you could clearly see in most iterations of this cross where the 8 goes below the 55 that we see a correction follow for Bitcoin. And it's the same in the other direction. If we see the 8 crossing above the 55, like we see right here, it follows with a pump. We see the 8 cross above the 55, a little bit of sideways pump. We see the 8 crossing above the 55. We did move up, but this current horizontal trading range has been so arduous and so sideways now that all of our moving averages are catching up. And this is where the volatility is getting lower and when we really expect a big move for the market. So the last time that we had this much sideways was effectively back last year. In the same time frame, we had these like weird jumps to the upside followed by corrections to the 200 MA, which I'll talk about in a moment. And then right here on this final wolf cross, which then rallied after the October solar eclipse, things started looking amazing. And that's across the board, not only for Bitcoin, but for all of the altcoins as well. Most of the altcoins actually bottomed on the October solar eclipse. So getting back to this, that is my signal. And the reason I'm mentioning this cross is because it's happening right now, naturally, as I filmed today's video, and it is yet to be confirmed. What I would like to see to expect more downside would be a rejection here at this cross, which could effectively be happening as of today. On today's daily close, if we're still below this cross, especially if we were to close red today, then that would be a confirmation. But if we were to just close in the green today, for example, below this cross, and then we had it follow with another daily close lower than the prior lows that we have right here from June 18th and 19th, let's just call it below 64,900, and I would feel more confidence if it's below 64,500 on a daily cross. Then I would say this is confirmed, and the odds are we have one more shakeout to come to the downside, and that would be the low 60 level. So keep in mind the analysis I shared in my last video. A pullback to 64K, which we got, it was healthy. Even 63K is still a healthy pullback for Bitcoin at this time. And if we flashed to the weekly 21 EMA, which right now sits at 61,500, that would also be fine if that was held as a support. We'd be fine with a move down to 61.5, holding weekly closes on this 21 EMA. But I put a big warning out there in my last video about the 61K level, and I called it the line in the sand, because if Bitcoin was to close a weekly candle below that level at this time, that would be sketchy, especially after we had 4 clear rejections at 71,500. That would make this current structure start to look very ugly if we were to see closures below the 61,000 level on a weekly candle close. The alts would absolutely get slammed. If Bitcoin had any daily closes below 64K, we would still see the altcoins continue to bleed out. So imagine Bitcoin closing a weekly candle below 61. The altcoins will get drained during that pullback. And that's why I mentioned the 64K level in my last video as a healthy pullback target. But we need to remember we're in a very unhealthy market overall, not just with Bitcoin. I'm actually calling the entire market unhealthy. It's an everything bubble. So just look at the way the stock market has been pumping lately, all off of about 5 successful companies. It's absolutely silly. And with all the insider trading and everything that's happening in the world, all this inflation, they're just doing this for the election year. And it's not just the US presidential elections. A lot of countries have elections this year. But that's the environment we're in. We could call it silly, but that's the environment we're in. So what's important here is that this is the environment we have to adapt to as long-term investors who are taking advantage of these short-term extremes in the market. Now, let's address the title of today's video, because it is not clickbait. What we're reviewing now is extremely time sensitive, just like I shared in my last video. But what I just mentioned a moment ago about the potential deeper pullback for Bitcoin given the environment we're in and the noticeable effect this would have on altcoins, well, I have something to show you that supports this possibility. And I know it could be uncomfortable for some people, but if you seek truth, then you know sometimes truth hurts, but it's the truth that sets you free. So if you've been following along here at Waters Above, you'll hear me bring up the 2016 and 2017 cycle often due to the similarities we have with that cycle. And one of the most noticeable, if I go back to the 2016-2017 cycle, I'm going to go on the daily chart, and I'm going to go to March of 2017. And this is very important to analyze, because this right here, you can see, is your prior cycle high of 2013. Here is March of 2017. And you see how we made a slightly new all-time high in March. Then it followed by around 30% pullback. And this sideways structure that we have before Bitcoin went into price discovery. Now, if you look at what we're at in 2024, you'd see that in the month of March, we made slight new all-time highs in the same exact month, followed by a noticeable correction of around 22-23% and a very clear multi-month horizontal trading range. And after 100 days of sideways, Bitcoin is still yet to enter true price discovery. Now, I know in January and February, I had a moment here where I wasn't so popular, where people were getting mad at me because I was saying that Bitcoin is not in price discovery. It is not fair to say that just because Bitcoin hit a new all-time high before the halving, that you should use that as some way of invalidating what it does every halving, which is that it's sideways around every halving, and it has yet to go into price discovery before a halving. And I also mentioned that you should expect Bitcoin to correct after the halving. I also said that we are not in an alt season. So those two isolated statements of Bitcoin not being in price discovery, regardless of this halving stuff, and that we are not in an alt season did not make me popular. I got a lot of backlash for that. A lot of people were not so happy at the time. But again, it's my opportunity here to be a voice of truth. And now that we can see what the altcoin market has been doing over the past 2 to 3 months, you're clearly able to identify with your own eyes that we are not in an alt season. And this is important because at the time, believing such thing was very dangerous. It was not founded on much. And this kind of mentality, I think, it wasn't looking at things based in the cyclical nature of Bitcoin. I believe what could have happened for some analysts out there, and this isn't pointing fingers, it's just that they started to include all this excess data into what was going on with Bitcoin, when really all they needed to do was study the esoteric Bitcoin analysis. And I know that's not their niche, so it is what it is. But here on this channel, that's what we're doing here. We're trying to find why Bitcoin is moving the way that it moves. And you could add in all these extra layers, but I don't think that's safe. It's the same way we would use astrology on a single person, right? We're aware of the environment. For instance, the decade you're born in will have a dramatic effect on the lifestyle you have now versus when you were born. Of course, we take those things into consideration. But it's obvious that there's patterns here for Bitcoin, and we should consider them. And I think the most groundbreaking pattern that I've revealed to you guys is the concept of the solar cycles and the lunar cycles, and how we're in a solar cycle right now, and that's when we have all of our bull runs. So we'll, talk about this more thoroughly throughout the year, but inside of this crypto decoding blueprint, I have 6 videos dedicated to everything I just said with custom-made charts, breaking it down so that you know when this bull run's likely to end, what prices it's likely to end at, how the alt season will really go, when the alt season will really end, and what to anticipate for 2025, and how to play the next bear market. It's revealing everything. So this is really, really jam-packed with value for the fact that right now you can get this course for exactly $100. The amount of value and what it has for its price, unbelievable. So, and I'm not saying that to hype it up. I just mean literally to have awareness this far in advance of what the market's going to do. It's pretty much a priceless piece of data to have and awareness. So to just kind of cap off some of these ideas, we have this similarity, striking similarity of 2017 to 2024, slightly new all-time high, correction. And one thing that we've yet to do that happened back in the same phase of 2017, and I'm going to show you that now, is this retest at the 200 daily moving average, the 200 EMA. And some might think, well, that correction happened so fast back then. It was essentially like our recent pullback into May 1st, which was right here. And in many ways, I agree. But let's add one more layer and look at how Bitcoin traded during that halving in 2016. The halving was right here in 2016. Let me show you with the drawings so you could see the exact day. Is this line going down the screen? And we have a high before the halving, and then we had a correction after the halving, with the halving pretty much equidistant to the high and the low that followed. Well, that's exactly what Bitcoin did this cycle too. And you see where Bitcoin corrected to in this, it was the 200 moving average. And then it bounced exactly at that level. It was really short and sweet. And if we were to look at the time horizon between the pullback over here of this pullback right here to the 200, followed by the one that we were talking about a little bit earlier after the slight new all-time high, followed by correction, both touching on the 200, followed by a bounce. This amount of time in between here and here was approximately 8 months. Now, if we look at what we're dealing with today, the last time that Bitcoin traded on the 200 moving average was in October, approximately 8 months ago. So let's see where the 200 moving averages are today. They're at 57,000, and that's the exact same price as Bitcoin's local low on May 1st. Meaning if Bitcoin was to correct and backtest this exact level of 57K, well, that would be a double bottom. And that double bottom setup would be one of the most elusive things for the market maker, and it would really disturb retail. But please know, I am not saying this will happen. I'm just showing you the setup here. We have the levels to keep in mind. We could also, let me turn off some of this noise, just to give you guys a scenario to keep in mind. We could literally see Bitcoin drop to the 200-day moving average around 57 to 58K, and then in the same trading day, buy back up to 60K, trading below the weekly 21 exponential moving average, and then within the same week, it could still bounce all the way back to 63 to 64K and close off that week at the same levels we recently traded at. Now, at the end of the day, that would just be to shake out weak hands. That would be a couple days of a bloodbath, and I believe, well, here we would know that it was a technical play all along, and that is my warning, so you aren't shocked if this was to play out. But I have to be very honest with you all and let you know that my intuition says we've been sideways and down for long enough now. The altcoins, for the most part, have taken a beating. Bitcoin dominance is balancing and preparing to go another leg higher for Bitcoin price discovery, true price discovery. And this whole 4 months of sideways that we've had, it was needed for a healthy market. So whatever happens to the downside, I believe it needs to be over and done with sooner than later. And in the meantime, the recent pullback that we've had just into the past couple of days was sufficient enough to put enough pressure on the altcoins. And if we haven't bottomed already, then we're in the process of bottoming out before the recovery phase and Bitcoin price discovery, which again, it requires Bitcoin to break above this level right here of 71,500 and a macro candle close. Let's just say a weekly candle close above 72K. And then I suspect we'll be seeing 80K Bitcoin shortly after that. And that would be very explosive, the way that would move, because of how long we've been sideways and low volatility. So keep these two key levels in mind. We have right now, if we were to have this 8 and 55 simple cross with confirmation, we could definitely see one more leg lower to between 61 to 63 for a healthy pullback. And then we still have to keep in mind the really bearish but elusive scenario of a backtest on the 200s, which would be technical. The only time I would still be bullish in regards to a much, much deeper pullback to just scare out retail. But I'm feeling intuitively like we're just in the last couple weeks of this corrective phase, and Bitcoin into the month in July and August should be on its way into price discovery. So quickly look at Ethereum, and we're just going to show a couple things that have happened on ETH. We had a deeper correction also into the 18th, but we've been holding this 55 simple on the daily nicely. Not the same looking structure as what we had with Bitcoin, where this is crossing below this moving average, and we're holding the 8 now. So a nice buyback, but we have to be kind of weary of this stuff because the stock market is closed, and these 2 days of bullish energy that we've had, well, I mean, it was just following the weekend. So I'm not really convinced in this past weekend's bullish buyback. And then the way this has been bouncing between this 3,400 and 3,600 level, it's indecision mode right now for ETH. So if Bitcoin was to pull back below 64K on a daily close, then I do suspect we're going to see 3,300 Ethereum again, and perhaps a swipe even into 3,200. Now, as for XRP, this has been actually holding up over the past couple days, and that I also expected because I had plenty of charts showing you guys, for instance, this one dotted blue line. It's been holding as a solid support for a majority of the past 4 to 5 years, on the XRP chart in the macro. And it doesn't really have too much more to give back. There hasn't been enough gains for it to give back. So the fact that we're holding this 49-cent level, again, remember what I said with Satoshi's 49, the 49ers, and the Super Bowl, and 49 days after Bitcoin's all-time high is the macro low, and all of this 49 code. It doesn't surprise me with XRP, honestly, because we're in the year of the X. We're in the year of 24. In the Hebrew year of 5784, that adds up to 24. X is the 24th letter in the alphabet. We had the Great American eclipse on April 8th. It formed an X over the state of Texas. This is all symbolism. So it doesn't surprise me at all that we're getting this price, to be honest. But all the esoteric stuff aside, from a purely technical perspective, we should not be going too much lower for XRP because it just doesn't have enough to give back. But we have to keep in mind the levels. Until we break 55 cents, we're still trapped in this lower half of the range, and we really need to get over 73 cents in order to see some expansion. This is a huge range for right now. We're trading near the bottom of it, which is a great opportunity for those that want to be exposed to XRP, but in general, it's definitely feeling a low vibe right now for the XRP community. I understand what you're going through. The way this project moves is pretty much, it likes to get you bored as hell, and then it has a straight line breakout. So I do suspect that there will be some sort of event that happens in July that would make the most sense. Probably similar timeline to when Ethereum's ETF gets launched. We know it's already approved. I think some SEC updates will be happening then, and it'll synchronize. So I'll be sharing some more decoding stuff on that as the weeks progress. But for now, just keep in mind these moves on Bitcoin and Ethereum. And this upcoming weekend, I will have the new Red Pill podcast coming out, the What I'm Investing in special, dedicated to over 20 to 25 charts, all of the projects that I'm personally invested in. I'm really looking forward to that. So let's see how the stock market opens up today. We got a couple days before my next red pill. You guys have all the levels to keep in mind. I already gave you these levels last week, so you were prepared. And I appreciate every single one of you. Have an amazing rest of your solstice. Much love.